Hello, viewers and listeners. Welcome back to another episode of Wellness Foreplay. We are Dr. Dondi and Marcy Nettles.
Hi,
we are
guys.
your hosts of this amazing podcast. And if you're watching it visually on YouTube and Zoom and Facebook pages, welcome. If you're listening to it on the podcast, welcome back. We are so excited to be here. As I said, my name is Dr. Dondi Nettles. This is my beautiful wife, Marcy. We do this episode multiple times a week. And the whole purpose of this show, Wellness Foreplay, is to help you be your best health advocates so you can take back, or maybe for the first time, take authority over your own health so it's going to be more predictably as a better outcome for you.
Yeah, it's totally about empowerment, guys. So I'm a former police detective, and you?
And I am a former family wellness chiropractor.
And so we're bringing our expertise together, and we're doing the investigations and coming up with the knowledge that we know is the foreplay to your optimal wellness.
Yes.
So truthfully, we are here. First of all, we want to learn for ourselves. And so that's where the investigation part comes in here. But then we want to share it with you so that you can pick a thing or two from each episode and implement it into your lives so that you can have the wellness that we know that you all want. Because as a matter of fact, it's more now than ever that people are looking for ways that they can take control of their own wellness. So welcome.
Yes,
We're
welcome,
so glad
everybody.
You're here. So you want to do your little disclaimer?
Yes. So we are not here to give you any diagnosis. We're not here to prevent, treat, cure, or mitigate any diseases or tell you information that will do that. What we are telling you is information for you to utilize for your own best interest from an educational standpoint only to be your best health advocate and take back your authority in your own health.
Yeah, so we're excited because we're coming to you today for episode number 15. Woohoo! And it's all about our favorite subject, especially us women, aging. Oh my gosh. Aging. None of us like getting older, do we?
Heck no.
I know I don't. Even though I just turned the big 50, even though I just did 5550.
That's me.
5. Right. My favorite hashtag right now is hashtag 50 is the new 30, right? But getting back to today's topic, and what we do here at Wellness Foreplay is we pick one topic and we answer 4 questions for that topic each episode. So we'll have 4 questions for today's aging topic. So the four questions that we're going to be answering today are: number 1, what is aging? Number 2, why do some people age more gracefully than others? Number 3 is going to be, what roles does genetics play? Great question. And then number 4, what are the 3 prominent theories on why we age?
I love it. I'm looking forward to this episode.
Okay, so you ready?
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into what is aging. This is question number 1. What is aging?
What is aging? Aging is a process. Maybe let's just call it a journey that every living thing goes through. And we're now learning more and more as we understand this process of aging, and that it's actually adjustable. It's malleable. There's things that we can do to change the trajectory of it, which maybe a couple years ago, we didn't really know that we could.
So does aging have everything to do with wrinkles?
No, but wrinkles play a part in aging for sure.
I know that's one of the things of aging that I try to prevent as much as possible. I don't know about the rest of you, but that is something that, I never asked for wrinkles on my birthday or any other day, right? So if there's any way that I can, alter the wrinkling process, I'm totally on board and totally here to answer. So simply, aging is one of the seasons of life, one of the processes or phases of life. Okay, that's simple. That's a simple enough answer there. So number 2 question: why do some people seem to age more gracefully than other people?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you guys, I don't know. I've the many things that I've done as a career in my life, I've met people that work outside and in the elements. And I've met people that look like they were 50 and then find out they're in their early 30s. It's like, wow, not what I was expecting. I was kind of blown away when I found out the aging process or how old they were. But then on the flip side of that, I've met people that were in their 50s that looked 30. And it's like, wow.
Yeah,
that's interesting, because some people do age prematurely and other people age very gracefully. We can, to a large extent, determine which one of those are. Are we the 30-year-old who looks 50, or are we the 50-year-old who looks 30? We can really, because 50 is the new 30.
Yes.
We can definitely choose one of those two things by how we live our life, which is a big part of it.
Wow. So I think that right now, you guys should each be thinking, it's like, so, if I could slow down the way that I'm aging, would I want to do that? Is that something that really interests me? And if it is, then keep listening, right? But if it's not, then, you could just hang out because we're crazy and just enjoy the happy hormones will bring to you because of our craziness. But, one of the things that I've realized growing up, as I've seen people that have gone through a lot of stress and struggles, that can sometimes be an aging contributor.
Yes.
Stress.
Yes. Well, if you look at stress as a whole, because it's a journey, right. It's a process. I like to call it the 3 T's. So there's 3 T's that really influence whether you're on the rapid or the slippery slope of aging, or whether you're taking it really gracefully. And the 3 T's are thoughts, traumas, and toxins. And so our thoughts, are we pessimistic or are we optimistic? And science proves conclusively that optimistic people simply live longer, because are you thinking about peril, or are you thinking about happiness? So, is the glass half full or is the glass half empty is really the approach here. So optimistic people live longer. The other is traumas. The people that have the most traumas or physical damage to their bodies age much more rapidly than people that have never had those traumas, because there's healing, there's scar tissue, and scar tissue is always less efficient than the original tissue that it replaced. And the last is toxins. Do we live in a toxic environment? Are we doing things that we can do to prevent the toxins in our environment, or are we contributing to the toxins in our environment? So again, it's thoughts, traumas, and toxins.
Oh, really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Something else that can also contribute to whether you are a fast ager or a slow ager could be maybe the culture that you were born into, your family traditions, the food that you eat, what activities you participate in. I mean, it's like when we look at Americans compared to like Europeans, Europeans tend to be a more lean, they generally are outside moving more often, and just seem to be a more healthy, younger looking people than the majority of Americans.
Generally speaking, yeah.
And that's nothing against those of us that live here in the United States, but it's just a fact. The food choices are completely different amongst cultures, right? And so that could be a really strong contributor to whether or not someone seems to be aging slower or faster than somebody else, is the family that they actually were born into.
Yeah, exactly. And just coming from a nutritional standpoint, one of my really good friends, Sean Croxton, I need to give him a shout out here.
Hey, Sean.
He talks about JERF, just eat real food. And that's one of the things that I would say a lot of Europeans over Americans, they eat real food. So, I remember growing up on boxes of Hamburger Helper and boxes of powdered mashed potatoes. And while it's convenient and it's quick, it may also lack nutrients than real potatoes that were cut up, boiled, and turned into mashed potatoes, and real ground beef and real noodles. I'm not saying they're not real. It's a boxed variety with preservatives, which is simple and convenient, is not necessarily as good as the whole food variety of it. So Sean Croxton, big shout out to SC for Just Eat Real Food, the JERF movement.
And that reminds me too, that in other cultures, that not only do they eat the real food, but they actually make their eating, their meal times, it's like an event, right?
Yeah,
and so
gathering.
It's not convenience or quick, it's the experience of eating and why they're eating. They're not necessarily eating just because of the taste of something. They're eating because of what they're getting. But while they're getting it, they're also in an environment of joy and family,
that's
right?
A good point.
So that's a little bit different compared to the speed meals that we tend to be always looking for here in the United States. And again, I'm not pointing out Americans and the United States for aging faster, but guys, if you are interested in learning how you can slow down the rate at which you're aging, this is something you should really take a deep look into. Is how you approach your eating process.
Yeah. And to your point, people that make it part of their family daily routine, families that have meals together, mom, dad, kids that have meals together, statistically speaking, they live longer. because they have love they express to one another. They're typically involved in a cultural situation, especially now in COVID. I mean, we had Easter last year, we had Thanksgiving last year, we had Christmas last year, which are traditionally big
the 4th of
movements
July,
where people get together and eat as a family. And we were deprived of that. And last year we did Zoom Easter with a bunch of my brother, my sister, and my mom. We all got together on Zoom, but it wasn't the same. And now we're coming up on the second Easter where a lot of people aren't going to be together as a family, but eating together as a family or as a community as a whole is a very big part of wellness, because we miss out on that environment. We miss out on that contributory effort where somebody may prepare things like kind of like a potluck, but you're doing it with your family members, and it's something that's huge.
Yeah, I think it's really important to just, and as we're going through this too, it's like, we're not going to just pinpoint one thing here and there. We want you to have like a whole awareness around how you're living your life, because it truly is how you are living your life that determines how quickly you age. And that's also why it's formable. Your aging process, you can actually form how you're aging.
Yeah, you can determine how rapidly or how slowly you age.
Well, and a lot of that has to do with knowledge, though, too.
It does.
And so if you have a lot,
we're doing this show.
Yes, that's exactly why Wellness Foreplay is here, is because we want to bring you that knowledge, but not everybody has access to knowledge. And so this is just a really simple way for us to be able to bring you some information. It costs you absolutely nothing to be able to get it. And so there's really no excuses other than the excuses you might be telling yourself.
Costs you nothing but time.
Yeah. So take advantage of this information, because knowledge truly can be either a proponent of slowing your aging process down, or it could be a barrier because you just don't have the knowledge of what to do to be able to help you with that. Right. And then it really comes down to choices that you make. How quickly you age comes down to choices, just like with almost everything else. Your first example actually is a perfect one that we can use in this little bit, in the choices you make when it comes to sun exposure, right? Because you said, there's people that will spend a lot of time out in the sun because of their work or because they just enjoy it. I mean, I remember back in the 80s, I think they called us sun goddesses or sun whatever worshipers, because we were always out in the sun. We never used sunscreen. Actually, we did the opposite. We put baby oil on our skin to get more, color. And yet what we were really doing is significantly increasing the aging process and causing damage inside of our bodies, our cells, that would lead to more wrinkles, bad damaged skin, sunspots later in life, all kinds of things. And so it comes down to the choices that we're making on a daily basis, whether it's the food we put into our bodies, how much time we spend in the sun, or what else we do to really slow down that aging process.
So many factors.
Yeah. So anything else you want to add in here to why some people may age slower or appear to be aging slower than other people?
And I think it could easily be broken down into two choices. You can either be proactive or you can be reactive, or just not really reactive at all, just doing whatever you want, whenever you want, and not really giving it much thought. That is a way you can live your life. It really might not have a lot of longevity attached to it, but the other side of that is doing things preventatively or doing things to avoid long-term damage. So avoiding things that may seem cool at the time, but may cause you problems later on. So it's just understanding where true wellness comes from and making deliberate efforts to hold it off, or to gather more wellness and hold off the aging process, since we're talking about aging.
Yeah.
There are things that can dramatically accelerate the aging process.
Yeah, great add there. Thank you. All right, so let's move on to question number 3. And that is, what role or roles does genetics play in the aging process?
That's a good question. And that is a changing answer, because it was, let's say 40, 50 years ago, people would think it's 100%. Your genetics determine your longevity. And that's why you see, well, even now in 2021, we can go to a doctor's office and fill out a questionnaire, and it asks about all these things. Have you ever had this, and this in your family? What they're trying to do is establish a family relationship, or a familial tendency, as it's called. So if my grandfather had cancer, my father had cancer, and my brother has cancer, there's a good genetic possibility that I may have cancer. That was the old way of thinking, which there is some truth to that. Some say between 5% and up to 20% of your aging process or your long-term wellness comes from your genetics. But again, depending upon the camp, it's either going to be 95 or up to 80 to 95% of that is from your lifestyle choices. Mm-hmm. What are you doing in your lifestyle that predisposes you to these things? So there's not so much weight on the family tendency of a certain disease to have your predictability of that disease as much as it is being proactive as early as possible in your life to have a different outcome from some people that may have had a pattern. Because people that live the same, people that eat the same, people that think the same, people that do things in life the same tend to have the same consequences, both positive and negative.
Yeah. So I think a really important point that you just made there is the sooner that you learn this so that you can make different choices, the better, right?
Sometimes it's too late.
Yeah.
And the earlier we start getting involved in a proactive process, preventative process, the longer we're going to live.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. I love that. So really genetics is just your starting point.
Yeah.
It's like the starting line of this race called life. So yes, it's what you were born with. But like for me, my personal experience, if I was going to rely specifically and solely on genetics, it's like, gosh, I lost my mom at the age, she was only 54 to cancer, right? And then my dad had heart disease and diabetes and dementia, all kinds of different things that have been in the past of my family history. But coming to know and learn and having that key thing, the knowledge, right? I know that I don't have to have the fear behind, oh my gosh, my mother died so early and it was this, and this, that I better go and have these tests and these tests and these tests, and being so concerned that because she did, I would. But no, thank goodness I have the knowledge that empowers me to make different decisions and choices in my life so that my future, my life going forward, it's completely my life. Mm-hmm. It's dependent on what I do, not on anything that happened to any of my family members. If I make different choices, if I do different things and I take in knowledge and am able to apply different techniques, I can have a completely different outcome.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Absolutely. And it's to your point, I remember about 10 years ago when we started really looking at genetic profiling or DNA profiling, and people were starting to get their results back, that they had a family tendency of this, and this kind of diseases. And some Hollywood notable people went and had voluntary surgery to remove their breasts and to remove their uterus and things of that, because if you don't have a uterus, you can't get uterine cancer. And if you don't have breasts, you can't get breast cancer. So while it was a preventative approach, it was kind of missing the mark, because you can either have the problem removed and not have to worry about that part of your body developing cancer, or you can take a more proactive approach and let's do whatever I can to help my body's overall exposure to cancer or likelihood to have cancer be much less, rather than taking out something in my body that was meant to be there. And so I'm not criticizing by any means. It's just what happens when we get a little bit of knowledge or what you said, fear.
Yes.
A lot of us are motivated by fear. And when fear is the motivator, sometimes we can do things prematurely or with not enough information to make a good long-term decision, because I guarantee you that people that did that look back and go, man, I wish I wouldn't have done that. Because once you alter your body permanently like that, voluntary or cosmetic or whatever the case may be, you're changing how your body functions, and not only how it looks, but how it functions, especially when you take out vital things like that.
Yeah. I am so glad you brought that up, but I'm sitting here, I'm fighting the urge so bad to say the name of this person, because every single one of you would know who this was that decided to actually.
Oh, there was more than one.
I know. There's one that really was the kickoff point, right? And that I just cannot wrap my head around. Can you guys wrap your head around that? Can you wrap your head around just because something showed up in your genetic history, in your family history, that you would go out and you would decide that, oh, I'm just going to cut my breasts off so I don't have to worry about this, right? That does not make sense to me. First of all, it is 100% living in fear.
It is. And to your point, we may look at it and go, how could somebody make a decision like that? It doesn't make any sense to us, but we don't understand what it means to live in that amount of fear. because fear can be very blinding. Fear can act like having blinders on, and it actually stop us from making good decisions and actually enable us to make bad decisions for the long term. But that's really the point, is that wisdom is the opposite of fear. And sometimes fear most of the time comes from just simply ignorance or lack of information.
Lack of knowledge.
And when we can take more knowledge, we have more choices that we can make an educated decision. Because here's really the difference. Fear leads to impulsive decisions, whereas knowledge leads to educated decisions. And it's better to make an educated decision than it is an impulsive decision, no matter what the decision leads to. It's always better to make an informed decision. And sometimes when something is too premature, where we are basically coming from fear, people can make decisions like that other people can look at and go, it makes no sense. But to them, it made perfect sense. I mean, think about what you would have to do to subject yourself to that level of consequence. You could die. You could not come out of it alive. And that person going into it knew that. That was one of the consequences, or one of the possible outcomes. You could not wake up, but they did it anyway. And that's where fear overcomes, and fear takes the stage over knowledge. We can see things like that. So that's another reason why we put this show out, to educate you guys, so you don't have to make impulsive decisions. You can do some investigation to make informed decisions, because ultimately it's going to be best for you.
Yeah. And if you know anybody that's living in that type of a fear state right now, reach out to them and just let them know, hey, you don't have to be. You don't have to be afraid. You can actually, gain knowledge, and simply it's like share out this message to them, especially this one right here where we're talking about aging. You don't have to rely on the fear of what's happened in your family, but that you can actually gain knowledge to where you can start making different and better decisions, choices that can actually alter the rate at which you are aging on the inside of you at a cellular level. How many cells do we have inside of our body?
Like 35 to 40 trillion.
Oh my gosh, that's
depending
a
upon
lot.
What expert you're reading.
That is a lot. And you can positively
affect
those nowadays. Now there's so much knowledge out there and so many different things that you can do that you can completely change the rate that you're aging. So, and how you feel and look along the way, right? So let's move on to question number 4. Because this question, as we answer it, is also going to be moving us into episodes 16, 17, and 18, because we're going to go and dive deeper. So this is just going to be a skimming of the top of the answer to question number 4, because we're going to dive deeper for you. So the question to number 4 is, what are the 3 prominent theories on aging? Why do we age? What are they saying? What's out there?
Yeah. Great question. I'm going to take it in a historical perspective. There's 3 prominent ones that scientists, researchers, and people that are involved in the research community are looking at. And I'll bring, like I said, from oldest to newest. The first one that we have been looking at is probably about 15 to 20, 25 years, and that's the free radical theory of aging. And we've kind of changed the vocabulary from free radical theory of aging. What it leads to something called oxidative stress. And you may have heard that term. You've seen, it's where antioxidants enter the equation. You've seen and heard about antioxidants. Well, that's to fight off free radicals, which is part of the free radical theory of aging, the oldest of the 3 theories that are most prominent right now. The middle one is mitochondria theory of aging. In other words, cellular energy loss. As our cells start to lose their energy, where mitochondria is what makes the energy, we start to have health challenges. And the mitochondria theory of aging has been about 10 to 15 years in prominence. And then the most recent one is the sirtuin activity theory of aging, which is kind of cellular cleanup. So the first one is cellular stress. The next one, the mitochondrial theory of aging, is cellular energy. And the most recent one, about the last 5 to 8 years, is the sirtuin activity theory of aging, which comes from cellular issue or cellular performance, cellular efficiency, and the 3 of them together. So the free radical theory of aging, the mitochondrial theory of aging, and the sirtuin activity theory of aging are the ones that scientists and researchers are diving the deepest into right now, as it relates to, at least from a human perspective, aging of humans in general, mammals specifically.
Wow. So we can really completely change our bodies on all 3 of these different levels and have a different response for our future.
And therefore a more predictable outcome.
I love it.
Which means longer life, longevity.
I love it.
Holding off aging.
All right. So now that you guys have learned more about what aging really is and how you can actually affect it, you can change the way that you're aging. We challenge you to do something about it, right? So we would challenge you guys, make sure that you plug in for the next 3 episodes. Plug in to learn more about the free radical damage or the free radical theory of aging on the next episode. And then after that, we'll be talking deeper about mitochondrial function and what happens when your mitochondrial are declining or not working properly. And the 3rd episode beyond today will be all about sirtuins and how you can affect that and create better communication inside your body. Which communication really is the antidote to a lot of things, right?
It's like turning
relationships inside your body. Go ahead.
It's like turning, if your cells are communicating in a whisper, we can show you how to bring them where they're communicating and they're yelling, but politely yelling, efficiently yelling, communication. They're hearing each other and they're listening to each other. Yeah, we'll talk about all the next 3 episodes is more, and that is to come. And there's going to be more deeper dive into each one of those.
Love it, love it, love it. So excited about that. So guys, thank you so much for joining us for this episode. And before we sign off here, we want to remind you, make sure that you go to dondiandmarcy.com/raffle. Make sure that you get your raffle entry in place so that you can earn a free tub, a 30-day supply of our new daily wellness product. Can you say immune support?
Seriously.
Like in 2 hours time, increase your immune system. This truly is a combination of 5 to Thrive ingredients that help you drink your way to a healthy day. So good. Reminder on that is dondiandmarcy.com/raffle. Make sure you get that done. We will be doing the raffle at the end of this week. So episode 17, we will be able to announce who the winner is. Make sure that you share this out. Make sure everybody knows about it. And let's just really, I mean, guys, because what we're doing here is we just want to bring you the knowledge that you need to empower you, because we know knowledge truly is the foreplay to the optimal wellness that you want for the longevity of your life. Okay. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Is there anything you want to add before we sign off?
When people say knowledge is power, knowledge is potential power. It's only when you put that knowledge in motion does it become your power. Action. And that's exactly what we want this show to do for you. So if you got value out of this, please share the episode. Please look for it in all the places that podcasts are broadcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next episode.
All right, thanks, guys.
Bye, everybody.